Good evening, all the participants. A warm welcome to this 51st ICFAI Wise Views Interactive Leadership Conversation. Ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of ICFAI, I take this opportunity in welcoming all of you to this webinar and also wish you a very happy new year across various parts of the country. It is known by different names. We are united by the spirit of celebrating these festivals. It's my pleasure and honor to welcome Ms. Nitya Ganapathy. She's the leader who is going to be conversing with us this evening. Welcome, Ms. Nitya.
Thank you.
We are going to talk about very interesting and very different topic today. That is in terms of understanding the entrepreneurial potential that lies in the Indian traditional foods, and we also will understand the case of Nei Native that is founded by Ms. Nitya. So, ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming her, and also we will start with a brief introduction. After that, we will have opening remarks and a small presentation by the leader who is with us this evening. I'll take this opportunity to share my screen. Mrs. Nitya Ganapathy, she's the founder and CEO of Nei Native. Nei Native is an organization founded in the year 2021 in the month of May, a luxury superfoods and consumables venture. She founded this D2C startup offering homemade, handcrafted ghee made using a traditional family recipe. Nei Native is a family enterprise which also offers filter coffee powder, a Tamil dessert. It is called Tiraktipal. The firm aims to launch more products this year. Previously, Mrs. Nitya was a media marketing and sales professional with 22 years of rich experience across companies like Bennett Coleman and Company Limited, that is the Times Group, Viacom 18 and TV Today groups. She graduated from the prestigious Lady Shriram College, New Delhi in psychology honors, and she's also a postgraduate degree holder in media and entertainment management from yet another prestigious institute, SP Jain Institute of Management and Research. Welcome, ma'am. Thank you very much for sparing your time to talk to us and the audience here. We welcome wholeheartedly to this conversation.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
I also take pleasure in introducing a moderator, my colleague, Professor R. Prasad. Professor R. Prasad is the course mentor and director for academic wing. Of course, the course mentor for the online MBA program that was recently launched. He architected this program. He comes with a rich experience of 3 decades, including corporate, entrepreneurial, as well as academic experience. He is an alumnus of IIM Kolkata and IIT Mumbai, and he has published several articles and edited books, and also recently published a book. And he presented several papers in various conferences. So I welcome Professor Prasad as well to this conversation. Good evening and welcome, Professor.
Thank you. Thank you, Professor Rao.
Now, the decks are cleared. We will now wait for the most awaited event, that is requesting Mrs. Nitya Ganapathy to start her presentation. Mrs. Nitya, as I mentioned, you can take about 20-25 minutes and we can pace it up as you wish.
Sure.
And we'll come back with some questions and answers soon after the presentation. Okay, over to you. Thank you very much and welcome once again.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Good evening, everyone. It is indeed an honor to address such a bright and stellar audience, and I would like to thank Mr. Sudhakar Rao for inviting me to this esteemed forum. I've been a media professional for over 22 years, and until April last year, I wasn't even thinking of an entrepreneurial venture really. So I did sort of stumble upon it, and the first 3 months were completely dedicated to exploring the truism, authenticity, and identifying the need gap that exists in the Indian foods and especially the superfoods space. So this deep dive is what led to the birth of Nei Native. And today I'll take you through the rather arduous but extremely satisfying journey of ours by highlighting the entrepreneurial potential in traditional Indian foods and superfoods. So, we truly are a diverse culture, right? And when you look at all of these images, we really see that in every occasion, every festival, whether it's at home or in the community level, it's all about food and lavish spreads. And, the whole thing is that social media and especially Insta which is what our very young nation is hooked on to, chances are that almost every second post is about mouth-watering cuisines, right? How aesthetically tempting or Pavlovian or drool-worthy all of these look. So, food delivery apps to food stylists, bloggers, cookery shows, home kitchens, cloud kitchens. The thing is that the pandemic has really made almost all of us home chefs in a way. And the options are staggering, the industry figures are staggering. And there's been an explosion of brands to join the bandwagon, which is already bursting at its seams. But we are India and we always have a space for more. And, this was a recent post, actually, it was a video that we had shared on Insta. And it was quite a surprise that the ad was actually for the ghee. And we were flooded with orders for the gujia, which is not something that we make. So the point is that great looking stylized food is pretty much irresistible. But the point is that, we are spoiled for choice, but are we actually making the right choice? Because after all, it is a consumables category, and what and why and the quality that you consume becomes paramount. And that really brings me to the dichotomy or, almost split personalities that we deal with, especially in relation to food and overall health. So, New Year resolutions are made and they're broken. I will go to the gym, I will play a sport, I'll eat right, watch my weight, low carbs, no sugar, right? So the pandemic actually has aided us in sort of keeping at least some of these resolutions or promises to ourselves, because immunity building, wellness and nutrition is a focus like never before. And in that, what is really native and indigenous becomes important. So, you have the sari, handloom, yoga, tourism, languages, music, art. So there's so much Indianness, right, to offer, but that's not a passing fad or a snob value really, because it does embody a rich and traditional culture. But in all of these, what I'm trying to say is that it's only food that stands out, because that's the one Indian thing that you end up consuming at least once every day. And what can be better than consuming what is locally grown, locally sourced? That is really from our soil. It is natural to our terrain, right? So, and of course, once it is sourced, it also needs to be made the traditional way or the way it used to be made, because the flavor is also important. So, we all enjoy gourmet delights from across the world, right? But that can never be your staple. It's like, you won't have a Scandinavian having mangoes every day. Similarly, you will not have Indians having blueberries every day. So, the timing is right to not just discover all the goodness that our traditional Indian cuisine has to offer, but also to market and price it right. And that's really a very important point, which I will touch upon. And so what is it that traditional Indian superfoods do to us and do for us? They first and foremost induce this serious nostalgia, and in equal measure offer innumerable health benefits. So, these two pillars, along with the ease of buying and convenience, really are the three pillars that is the case for many long forgotten Indian traditional superfoods for them to resurrect and flourish, right? And these are also the three basic pillars that Nei Native as a business idea was really established. So I'll briefly speak about each of them. And, if you see, nostalgia, of course, we all know what it is, right? It's the time we want to go back to, reminiscing, childhood memories, bittersweet tugging at heartstrings, sentimental yearnings for the days gone by. But again, the pandemic has redefined what nostalgia is. It's not really limited only to grown-ups or to something way back in the past. Even teenagers refer to the pre-pandemic as nostalgic now. And something as recent as 2019 is something that we seek fondly. So COVID will come to an end, but there has been an undefinable loss, which cannot be measured or even expressed beyond a point. So, if just a couple of very recent instances of nostalgia. The first one is actually from my balcony in Mumbai. And some lovely mogras had bloomed last week. And my daughter and I were looking at them, and she very simply said, this smells like a Chennai wedding. So, for a 13-year-old to actually, who's attended so many functions in the past pre-COVID, to immediately reminisce and say that the last family wedding we've gone to and almost missing it was very evident. And the second picture is, some mahua flowers at the farm recently, and I put it on a college group, and someone was like, please, can you get some mahua flowers back? So for her, it was an immediate association with childhood memories and life in the slow lane kind of a thing, which she was missing. So, in all this, what is it about ghee? Ghee is just quintessentially Indian and so unique to our subcontinent. It's a true superfood, and it's a household staple for generations. So it wouldn't be wrong to say that it's not just, sort of Bollywood and cricket, but also ghee, which really unites us. And so why was it that Nei Native was born when the product is a kitchen staple and the market is already flooded with so many brands, right? So the fact is that ghee making is an art, and, if I may say, it's a lost art, because the process is cumbersome, it is time consuming, it is laborious, especially when you're making it in large quantities or you're making it very regularly. And the process is even more complex when it is made in the Bologna method or the cultured ghee, which is what Bologna method is. So hectic work schedules, a nuclear family rising over the years has led to ghee pretty much not being made at home, and even if it is made, it's really made in very, very small quantities. So, that has led to a very, very competitive market. So you'll get ghee, ranging from 400 rupees to even 4,000 rupees, right? And you'll get different varieties. You'll get A2, cow, buffalo. You have many, many variants on it. However, what you will not get in the market is real homemade, handcrafted, personally made ghee, which takes you down that nostalgia lane. And this is the one single USP for Nei Native. It's the superior aroma, it's the granular texture, and the nutty flavor. And the secret to this is really, the recipe which has been passed down generations and is now being rediscovered by Nei Native patrons. And the testimony to this perfection of a recipe can be seen in every individual, irrespective of state, region, community, religion, who, wherever he or she belongs to, who with one whiff is sort of transported into, his or her childhood. And I would say that the only competitor is really your own mother or your grandmother's ghee, and which is why, I must say, it's the joint families don't really look at ghee from the market. And that's someone we don't target too much because it's already being made at home by the elders. So this is our core proposition, which is right here. The first spoon of Nei Native Desi ghee is the most powerful. Besides the homemade goodness that fortifies your immunity, it instantly brings alive something that sleeps within you. Long forgotten memories of that old dining table, of siblings as kids, of a much younger mom, of Sunday morning brunches. Ghee will never mean the same after that first spoon. And some amazing Google reviews and on Facebook, etc., etc. The Nei Native, it was really a matter of 3 months when we were in the proof of concept stage. It evoked really some powerful and strong emotions and sentiments purely due to the nostalgia part. And now we have more than 4,000 plus consumers with a very, very high repeat purchase because it strikes the right chord. Coming to the next pillar, which is, all about nutrition and health, The health benefits of A2 cultured cow ghee are just too many, and our discerning consumer is actually aware of what A2 is aware of what culture of Bellona ghee is, and why it is the best superfood for your whole family. It strengthens the immune system, it aids in digestion, weight control, improves good cholesterol, reduces bad cholesterol, rich source of antioxidants. It's great not just for the body, it's great for the skin and hair, and it pans across life stages. So infants, your first solid food at the age of 6 months or so, the annaprashanam that we do is all about a little bit of ghee that is added to the food for the baby. Youngsters, adults, new mothers, pregnant women, senior citizens, it pans across it. But the point is that all of this is great only and only if it's made the right way, and that becomes the key, which it has to be free of chemicals, additives, and it has a veritable rich and royal aroma, which when added to our daily consumption not just makes it delicious but also very, very nutritious. And making it the right way is, like I said, the most important thing. So we may wonder, what is this A2 and A1, right? So A2 is actually the most natural to the human body, and it's easily digested compared to A1 beta casein protein, which is suggested to be not easily digestible and not very, very healthy for the body. So A2 ghee comes from the primitive form of strain of desi cows, generally Indian, African breed. And the thing is that they produce only 7 to 8 liters of milk in a day. While the Holstein or the Jersey kind of breeds actually, can produce, in pursuit of better productivity and cheaper cost, they can actually produce up to 20 liters of milk in a day. So this entire labor intensive process of ghee making actually caters to the highest standard of the best quality of A2 full cream milk. And this milk is made into curd, and the curd is then hand churned to obtain butter. And this butter is then made into ghee, and the entire process is called the Bellona method, the purest and the most superior form of ghee making. Now it takes about 25 to 30 liters of milk to actually just make that 1 liter of ghee. And it requires a naturally, I would say, this is more like a ritual or almost a meditation. It needs, a naturally quiet and peaceful environment with the least amount of disturbances or distractions, and hence we really make it in the wee hours of the morning. And that's when the ghee also is really, really freshly made. So each jar is handcrafted, personally made, personally supervised, and made at the farm with no use of any machinery. And it's a small team that manages the entire manufacturing. So, while in India, it's the benefits of desi milk and desi ghee has always been known, A2 milk was actually first popularized in Australia and New Zealand. And of course, now it's really, really picking up pace here. And, equally important is the convenience and ease of buying, because what's the point if you have a great product and you don't have a market or the marketing capability to execute the entire idea, right? So, the Indian market obviously is the largest consumer of ghee. And, it's even larger when you consider the Indian diaspora, the Middle East and Southeast Asia actually also having a large ghee culture. And the market is humongous, but actually when you see, and the disconnect here is, look at the size of the A2 ghee market. It's really, really minuscule, but the fact is that it's poised to explode because, more and more consumers are now understanding the benefit of actually consuming A2 ghee as opposed to your regular ghee. And it's really a competitive space right now. So I would actually say about, 99% of the brands available in the market are really mass manufactured, made through a creamification method and not through the Desi Bellona method. So it's not really A2 cultured ghee. And here, when we say, this is premium ghee, premium does not mean expensive, especially when it comes to pure ghee, because it really denotes the quality and the value that you're willing to, spend on that quality, right? So that is what premium is. And like I said before, it takes, that much to actually make that 1 liter. It takes 25 liters of milk to actually make that. So, we are present currently on multiple platforms, and, Nei Native is now available across the country. And basically, the largest traffic comes through our own website, which is nainative.com. We are available across multiple platforms in the e-commerce space, the large as well as the niche platforms. Of course, Amazon, Big Basket starting soon, and then the niche food ones like Wellburst, One Green, etc. And, we are present across modern as well as general retail. We are at Nature's Basket. We have about 40 plus artisanal and gourmet stores in Mumbai. Just recently started Pune, and by end of the month, we will be available at Delhi too. Now, some very strategic tie-ups that we've done with resident welfare associations for sampling, for kiosks, farmers markets, exhibitions, etc. Small pack samplings and restaurants, cafes. All of that is being done, and all of that really adds back into the revenue model itself. So, yeah, if I were to look at the inception, really, while on paper I'm the sole founder, Nei Native is a family enterprise in the true sense, because a lifetime ritual of making ghee at home led to so many more jars of making it, and my mother really is the creator or the curator of it. And the second product, which I'll just come to, the filter coffee powder, was actually curated by my father, who's a coffee aficionado. And the name Nei Native was given by my daughter. So Nei is ghee in all the South Indian languages, and native means indigenous. Hence, the name literally means desi ghee. And soon about three more close family members got involved in production, product development, critical analysis, logistics, accounting. And the hall pretty much became the packaging room. The kitchen was the production unit. The utility room served as the warehouse for about 3 months. My driver managed all the deliveries and inventory management. He went out of his brief really because his job didn't remain the same. And, the maid, the cook, everyone worked overtime to actually ensure that labeling and packaging was done, etc. And soon by August, once we crossed that proof of concept stage, we shifted operations to the farm. And now we have a small team, but a very robust team, I must say, which has a production head, a logistics and CRM head. We have a brilliant brand and e-commerce manager and a retail activations expert. So, the first step for Nei Native actually was to have the proof of concept, like I said. And just because you have a bunch of people saying, oh, wow, this is a great product, didn't mean that it could just become a business idea overnight. So we went through an elaborate sampling and a price discovery activity by calling and presenting the product to as many as 1,000 plus friends, acquaintances, and family members. And simultaneously, in the next 2 to 3 months, we got our licenses, permissions, procurement, raw material, SKUs, labeling, packaging, etc. And most importantly, ensuring that the quality reigns supreme in every jar, even though there could be minor inconsistencies because, it's not mass manufactured, the quality had to be supreme. So apart from digital marketing, we realized that it was imperative to actually reach to consumers' homes directly because, really the proof of the pudding is in the eating, right? And without them sampling Nei Native, they wouldn't know why we claim what we claim. And we hence decided to embark on this very classic model of door-to-door sampling in a very specific target group living in premium towers in Mumbai city, which is seldom done these days, especially for FMCG products in a large or a consistent scale. And more than 5,500, 6,000 samples were distributed along with literature of the brand as well. And the response had been nothing short of, euphoric. So the ghee seems to remind every sampler of his childhood. And this resounding sort of unanimous response to nostalgia not just led to immediate conversions, but led to an extremely high repeat purchase rate. So the impact of Nei Native is simply in the differentiation of the aroma, taste, and texture, which seems to immediately sort of connect with the consumer, making him a lifetime consumer. So the virality and word of mouth had worked brilliantly. This also led to some sort of a ripple effect where consumers were now hooked on to larger packages, higher frequency. There were referrals being done. Gifting packs to their friends and family was happening, in a much, much larger way. So, to sum up, really, Nei Native is a luxury consumables brand now, which aims to reinvent long forgotten aromas and flavors, along with their core purity and goodness intact. And we make 2 SKUs of the ghee, 250 and 500 ml. And of course, we have a whole lot of other products too. While ghee is the hero, we have the filter coffee powder, like I mentioned. We have the raw honey, which has just been launched. And we have peanut butter. Now, peanut butter is interesting because it has 4 variants, including the unsweetened one, but it's all made in the A2 ghee and not in some questionable oil. And of course, we have one product which is not a superfood. It's pure indulgence, and that's the Tartipal, which is a dessert, which I was pleasantly surprised that people loved it so much. And in going forward, we look at a pan-India retail presence, which is a long haul, but we are slowly and surely getting there. And a higher focus on our own website sales with subscriptions and offers, and of course the e-commerce part. We will be looking at exports starting with the UAE, especially Dubai. And with the festive season coming, we will be looking at corporate gifting in a large way and a whole lot of strategic tie-ups. So that, to sum up, is what Nei Native is all about as of today. Thank you so much for listening.
Wow, thank you very much. That's a fantastic presentation and the canvas of Indian foods and superfoods and how exactly Nei Native is um, rolling nostalgia into health benefits and health benefits into nostalgia and putting it across through the convenience of buying or the e-com. I think that's the fundamental story of Nei Native. But it takes a great deal of patience. It takes a great deal of knowledge to actually focus on such a niche kind of product and a requirement. Although the large food segment market size is enticing, as you rightly mentioned, the forgotten art of making this A2 grade ghee is something very, very interesting. I think most of the facts looks like it rang a bell to most of us when you took the process of making the ghee,
Right.
or the Bologna process of making the ghee. So that
Right.
was very, very interesting. Of course, there are several products in the world within our own country. The uniqueness of the native products, the indigenous products, and there is some kind of attachment always. But if one can unearth and represent market very well with respect to the health benefits of these indigenous foods,
Right.
and also apply the modern marketing techniques, I think a great deal of success can be achieved, like the way you are planning to. So it's a very interesting exercise, and I'm sure the audience has enjoyed listening to that presentation. Uh, Before we get on to the questions and answer sessions, I'm tempted to ask one small question.
Please.
That is, for that ghee ad which you placed, where you got inquiries for the bhujia.
Yeah.
What did you do after that?
I actually had half a mind to, try and make it, but I knew it's not going to come out the way, the shoot looks. So I just had to sort of say, sorry, we don't make gujia, but we have a great offer on the ghee. I mean, what else do you say? Because we were getting SMSs and inquiries. But yeah, we just had to tell them, we can put you on to Zomato or someone and you can go to Tiwari Brothers or something and get the gujia. So I think people felt a little bit of disappointment. Oh my God, the gujia looks so good. And I had to tell them, we ordered the gujia for the shoot. So
Okay, good.
yeah,
I think you made gujia, you sold gujia, although you wanted to actually sell ghee. That's a
that's
very
right.
interesting. These are some of the very interesting encounters that we have in
Yeah,
terms of promotion and marketing most of the time. So thank you very much on that. I'll now invite Professor R. Prasad to initiate the Q&A session, and he will take the first cluster, and then I'll come back after that.
sure.
Over to you, Professor Prasad. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Rao. Ma'am, it's been an amazing understanding of how you've landed into what you're doing. You've come from a very different background.
Yes.
You've gone to Lady Shriram, then you've been to SP Jain, you've been in media and entertainment, and then you landed in foods. Now, the first question is related to yourself and how you got into this.
Right.
So can you spend some time so that it helps potential entrepreneurs? Your area is very interesting for them. And it's something that they can do. It's not something that they read about, like tech startups. They don't have that sort of competency. So can you delve into that?
Yeah, sure. See, I'll tell you what, I would say that it requires a lot of patience, because the easiest thing is sort of to give up in the first month or 6 months or 1 year, because the challenges are a lot more than the returns, right? So you have to be, I think, and I'm talking only from my experience in the last 11 months. It's you will have at least 10 to 20 different types of issues that you're dealing with every day, especially because it's FMCG. And I will speak only about this. I'm not going to speak about any other sort of a venture, because my experience of the last 11 months is in this. You have to make up your mind that you're in it for the long haul. So, if you persevere and you're a little patient and you're extremely meticulous, then the point is that it will work out. So the challenges of the first month or the first or the fifth month may not be there right now, but I have a whole new set of issues and concerns that I have to deal with at every stage. And I think what really sets an entrepreneur apart from, say, a corporate professional or anyone else is really that you are the peon and you're the CEO. So even if you have a brilliant team, the fact is that you're not just handling marketing or HR, or you're actually handling everything. So if there is a problem anywhere, you need not micromanage all the time, but you have to be aware of it. So I think that is the big leap. And my only bit to everyone would be, just don't give up too soon, because you may also realize that and investment is another big part. Especially in FMCG, you have to have the appetite to say, at the end of the month, I'm not getting a salary. I'm not a salaried employee anymore. And you have to be okay with that. So ensure that your finances are also in order, whether you're borrowing and doing it. Ideally, I would say don't. At my age and stage in life, I would say don't. I'm sure there are much, much younger entrepreneurs who will take all the risks in life. Please take the risk, but I think it has to be a calculated risk. That is what I would say. And you make sure that you're there for the long haul. So.
Okay, ma'am. I mean, I think there are quite a number of points there. I think the most important point that I could recognize is this making up your mind that you're in it for the long haul.
Yeah.
It comes right from within, not easy to settle down. You've burnt your bridges, or you have to imagine that you've burnt your bridges behind.
Absolutely.
Coming back to the self, ma'am, what is it that you have taken from your past which has helped you during these 11 months? What are those principal values, characteristics, frameworks which have helped you in the last 11 months?
It's amazing what the body of work that you may have done for 2 decades plus. You see all of it coming back in use when you become a business owner or an entrepreneur. And you don't even realize it at the beginning because you're so consumed with tactical and day-to-day work. But when you're actually at the drawing board and you're doing your strategy, I think experience then counts, is a huge plus point at that time. So all the MBA and all the what you thought was fancy terms and fancy words, all of that actually comes in very, very handy at this point. Like I remember accountancy was not something I was very good at, but you realize, and that was one of my weakest subjects because I loved consumer marketing and all of that, consumer behavior. Everything was great. Accounting and finance was something that, and I'm saying this to, a forum like this. But the fact is that it was so important to figure out your taxes, your paperwork, your P&L, your balance sheet. It's you have no choice but to understand it. So I think every skill that you have learned is extremely important. In fact, the things that you're weakest at, I think it makes sure that you brush up on that. Because, for someone like me, maybe sales comes very intrinsically because that's what I've done all these years. Marketing comes very naturally. But certain things like finance and accounting, I may still struggle with. But I really appreciate the work that I've had to do at SP Jain for the MBA classes. That even though I didn't like it, look how handy it comes to me now. It didn't. I didn't need it in a corporate job, but I need it now. So.
Fantastic, ma'am. I think, again, the way you have articulated the product and the emotions around the product when you made your presentation, I could relate to the communication media kind of background. And I think there's quite a bit of strength that you're bringing here. And when you spoke about investment, finances, looking at, the funding which is needed and ensuring that you don't need to borrow, we are able to connect to the finance and accounting background. I think this is extremely relevant, particularly for those who have a business background, whether they've done it through an MBA or otherwise. And I'm able to see that you're kind of you've put it together. There are a lot of people who don't relate, but you've been able to put it together, and there is some realization and some revisiting about what is important and how do you get there.
Absolutely.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you. So the next question is about, can you illustrate some of the major challenges? You mentioned that every day there are challenges, but if you kind of aggregate it and look at it now, what are some of the major challenges that you think people who get into ventures such as these need to keep in mind?
No, so I will tell you about FMCG. I can tell you I have newfound respect for people in the packaging industry. Okay, because making the ghee or making the coffee or the peanut butter is the easiest thing. To make it is fine, but to actually reach it to the end consumer can be a nightmare. And I can tell you that in the beginning, I had almost 7 to 8% breakage if I was shipping a jar, and these are glass jars, if I was shipping something outside Bombay, because Bombay consumers, not a problem, you can immediately courier it. But when you're sending it outside Bombay, you had to package the ghee like a mummy, literally like an Egyptian mummy, because and every time a jar broke, it broke my heart. I mean, seriously. And not just that, the customer experience is ruined, because you have the customer saying, oh, I got a broken jar. And that's all, because you can lose a customer in just a matter of seconds. So that was a very, very big learning for me, that packaging, labeling, the ghee or the peanut butter not leaking, how to seal the bottle well. You really have to spend a lot of time and effort and money on the packaging as much as you do on the product, because the product is actually inside. The customer relates to the style as well as the substance. So, style with substance, extremely important. It's what we call the unboxing. The unboxing effect has to be superb, because I'm a premium product. I'm not selling, something in small plastic bottles. So when my product is premium, the unboxing effect for the customer has to be superlative. He should be thrilled just by seeing the product. And then, of course, I would say 50% of the thing about the ghee is in the aroma. So that comes later. So this was my biggest challenge, Mr. Prasad. I think I have learned, like I said, newfound respect for the packaging industry, and I understand what it takes to actually be an FMCG company. I'm really, really tiny, but look at the large conglomerates you have across, and they'll have teams and teams so that I would say was my biggest challenge. And a whole lot of small challenges which happen every day. Just getting licenses. But the fact is, and I think it's beautifully done. I think it is important, especially when it's a food industry, to ensure that all your licenses are in place. Your testing, shelf life, product quality, ingredients that go in. Very, very important that, FSSAI license is there. Your labeling has everything. So I realized in the beginning that actually there are 13 of, I think, 14 parameters that need to be mentioned in a food product label. So all that has to be there. It has to be in a certain font, the FSSAI license. So all of those are things that you learn by and by, but a lot of mistakes do get made. But yeah, the packaging was the biggest challenge, is what I would say. And hence, it should not impact the customer experience. Ultimately, it's about that. So you get the journey right, and now we are at less than 1% breakage. So for me, that's a huge achievement, that there is hardly any breakage now. So
excellent, ma'am. Customer journey, customer experience, the aha when he or she sees the product, and then the sense organs you mentioned about aroma, getting all that right. And then packaging being one of the most important points which are resident apart from licenses. I think for a lot of people who want to get into food, these things are going to remain relevant. And I think there are some of our students are also interested in food ventures, and I'm sure that this will keep them sufficiently informed. I move to the next question, ma'am. This is when you articulated the way you set up the venture, you have looked at it very carefully. It reminded me of bootstrapping. And how careful you've been when you've selected your target group and how you move to the next stage. So how are you keeping what are you doing about your goal setting for the next 2 or 3 years? How are you visualizing it?
So I would actually put that into, I would say, about 4 or 5 buckets. The most important bucket for me is our own website. So it's very simply put, our own website, which is neinative.com, but I realize now that it requires an entire surround sound activity. So it's not just doing some Facebook and Insta and Google marketing, but that has to give me my lifetime consumers. It has to be attractive enough that the SEO and SEM, all that needs to really come together, and it is always work in progress. It is always, there is always room for improvement there. So one set is the website itself, which is our own website. The second bucket is, I would actually say, the e-commerce bucket, because pretty much everyone is on e-commerce. We sit at home and we order everything. So that and you need to be present across the popular as well as the niche platform. So initially I was like, I'm really premium. I should not be on Amazon. But I quickly realized that Amazon is a world of its own. So you have to be in Amazon too. And it works brilliantly if you do. But each of these platforms, Mr. Prasad, has its own marketing. So you can't just be present on an e-commerce platform and then do nothing about it. So you have to put your marketing might uh, with that, because otherwise your product will be there, but it's just going to remain there. It's not going to sell. The third big bucket, of course, is the brick and mortar, which is your modern as well as traditional retail. And I was very clear that I wouldn't go through a distributor, because a distributor, what really happens is will never be as passionate about your product the way you will be. So we painstakingly, my team and I went to each and every store in Bombay. So we visited 320 stores in Bombay. Now there are more than 30,000 stores in Bombay, but we don't want to be present in a store which is also selling a 100 rupee product, right? Because that person may not be interested in A2 cultured ghee. So the brick and mortar piece becomes important again over there. You need to have promoters, because if the ghee is going to be lying there, my shelf life may be 1 year, but you or I, even if we go and buy it today, if it's 6 months back shelf life, you're not going to buy it. So if your product is not moving in physical stores, then it doesn't make sense. So we decided you have to have promoters there. So we actually have promoters in Nature's Basket and our niche stores, because even if your shelf life is 1 year, why should you buy a product that was made in December or Jan? Wouldn't you buy a fresher product? Is the whole point. So that becomes the third large bucket. The fourth, of course, is something that I really need to work on, which is the international piece, because we just have such a large population, and really that's our strength, that we are just present everywhere. So whether it is UK, Australia, and I think the nearest and the easiest one would actually be to do the Middle East. So I want to start with that. And that requires a whole set of licenses and permissions and all of that. So that's a lot of spade work. You start that and it'll take about 3 months to do that. And the last big one that I am personally very passionate about, and I don't think regular brands can do that, only premium and luxury brands can do that, is corporate gifting. It's a space that is very it's not focused on. We suddenly stumble upon it only 1 month or 2 months before Dashera, Diwali, etc. I think there's a great merit in actually planning that now itself. So get your shoot right, get your packaging right, because again, it's all about lovely looking gift boxes, not just corporate gifting. I mean, in every company, the HR gifts its own employees, right? And what is better than gifting superfoods to employees? It's the best thing instead of just giving chocolates. Or so these are really my 5 buckets that I have told myself that this year needs to be. So that's my focus going forward.
I think these are awesome insights, ma'am. I think you have, with a case study of what you're doing, related it to a very boutique approach. I mean, a lot of us are in this. I mean, I'm able to relate to what we are doing for our program. And I can see similarities in what you're saying and what we are looking at. It's not a mass product, it's a premium product.
Yes.
And you have kind of articulated it as well as scoped it for very good focus. Starting with the website, and you used a very interesting word. You said surround sound.
Yes.
Maybe there's quite a bit to know about it. First website. Then you mentioned about the e-commerce basket, and also pointed out that Amazon has its own marketing, and there are a lot of dynamics involved in that, and that you need to understand that and marry it with your approach in order to be successful there. And the third point was about the brick and mortar. And I think something which I found common in all these is the communication, because you mentioned the need of a promoter there. The way you communicate across at that point, rather than it being at a distance, is something that I could find from all these, both website, e-commerce bucket, as well as the brick and mortars. And of course, you supplemented it with the international market strategy, as well as the corporate gifting. Absolutely wonderful, ma'am. I think this will work for a lot of people who want to pitch in a focused market and scale up in a very, 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 very cautious as well as very sustainable way.
That's right.
Thank you for that. I think I'll And back to Professor Sudhakar Rao for the next cluster.
Sure. Thank you.
Thank you very much. As much as it is getting more and more interesting, we are inching towards the stipulated time for the entire webinar. But then that is a challenge always when we stumble upon a very good conversation and understand the intricacies of how one is going about in a very unique manner, where there are no templates available in the market, there are no benchmarks available to a large extent. That gets even more curiouser and curiouser. So, thank you very much. I'll try and stick to some small short answer questions, a few.
Sure.
The audience is quite keen in asking a variety of questions, and then I would like to bring it forth here.
Sure.
You have explained very well about how you have gone about connecting the superfood here, that is the ghee, to the requirements that people would have, and then the nostalgia is what you're riding on. Now, in food business, what is your advice on building upon a USP? What you have actually done is very sharply focusing on something which is a native product, Indianness, indigenous, and of course, health benefits are there. The more we dig deeper, of course, you will get a lot of it.
Yeah.
But there is an example or a case of identifying the USPs, and that is very much required as we move forward. So much of the marketing energy would come down, or it will be lesser strainful on marketing and more on the. So how would one go about identifying and building the USP in food business?
See, like I said, for me, it was not really planned, but I am certain that if one really wants to do this, Mr. Rao, it can be done. It's like very recently I was in another forum where this very, very young enterprising girl had actually started something on hot chocolate. Now, the thing is that everyone is either a tea or a coffee drinker, or then you're actually having cold beverages, right? So when you go to a Starbucks, you order tea, coffee, and even if you do order a hot chocolate, it's really, really expensive. You get it only in the large chains. Now, look at it. She's actually identified a low cost and a very large base of hot chocolate drinkers. So I'm saying, so for example, people who do baking, and look at this very lovely example of the Bora kitchen. Now, curated meals is something that again is a lovely space, because people are always looking at something different. Plus, you don't want to order the same food every day. See, mine is a condiments thing. It is not the main food. It's an additive to your food. But I think each one needs to find their own USP. Otherwise, what happens is, we are such a large country, you get everything everywhere. So chances are that you might get bogged down saying, I can't see any USP in making noodles, for example. But, there will be a space. There will always be a space. It's sometimes I think it's more about how you want to position it. Your product itself may not have a USP. Maybe it's more about the packaging, the marketing, your TG, all of it. I'm saying how that person really wants to identify a TG and then a USP is a question best answered by someone who starts something new, but it comes. I think if you're really passionate about it and ardently, desire it, it will definitely happen. So. But the USP is important. Otherwise, you're just a Me Too, and then you will get lost in the crowd, and that's about it. So.
Yes, USP is extremely important, and if you are passionate and ardent about it, you will definitely discover that undivided, energetic, single point focus is what is required in building your business so passionately, as if there's no one else around you, and you're going to discover those diamonds within that product. Yes, obviously you will identify the USPs, and the rest of the game is about communicating those USPs in a better, bright manner. So that's the takeaway from your response. Thank you very much. So the next question, Mrs. Nitya, is how would you describe your typical customer for your products, and how do you identify these potential customers? First, describe them, and then how do you go about identifying these customers?
So I will tell you, actually, I'll tell you who my customer is not. Uh, so, who is not my customer is the vegan, the joint family is not my customer, because and I realized this through the sampling exercise that we did in Bombay high rises, that there are, what happens in joint families is that they may buy a luxury car or a diamond set just like that, because they have, it's not about the money. But when it comes to ghee, the mother-in-law will tell the daughter-in-law, you know what, I get ghee from so and so place in Porbandar or wherever. How can you buy a ghee that is so expensive, 3,100 rupees? No chance. So, that is not my customer. Now, if I were to actually define who my typical TG is the erudite, well-read, well-traveled, educated, high-end nuclear family. And I'm not going to say, while it's usually the women of the house who buy it, most of those women are working. And it's surprising that a lot of men also buy the product. But that is not to say that it's only the so-called rich or privileged who buy it. I think there is another TG, which is the aspirational TG, because they are the ones who are sort of young and restless and aspire to the next bigger house or bigger car or a better job, or hone themselves with better skills, and hence they also want to have the better things in life. So that is why I never say that we are only for the only for the luxury audience. We are also for the audience who recognizes that there is quality comes with a little bit of class, and if you want to reach there, please come to us. And in that process, we also give you the best ghee, because the ghee that you've been having till now is really not ghee. It's what I would call cheese oil, because it's not really being made the way it should be made. So that aspirational group is something that I think will make the next large set of my TG, because they really
Yeah.
want to go into the next big step.
So in summary, what you've said is that those who have arrived at in life in terms of a class, because quality is associated with class, and those who are aspiring for that kind of class of
Yes.
quality. So in summary, that's what you have described. But it's very difficult to describe the customer, and the
Yeah.
easier it is for us, the better it will be for the downstream activities, either in terms of exchange of commerce versus product, or in terms of communication versus perception. I think it will become that much more easier. But in a very, very, as I said, as you become a non-inclusive product, you don't want vegans, you don't want joint families, you don't want people who have no appreciation for this. I'm not saying you don't want, but you
Yeah.
want them also to eat.
Yes, of course, I'd love to convert them.
Narrow down. Yes.
Yeah.
You narrow down, and then sometimes there is a danger of being seen as an elitist product. It is not just in
that's
food.
true. That's true. You're right.
It is there in the luxury brands like your designer bags,
Absolutely.
or apparel, or shoes. On all these products, I think there is a thin line where, and that danger of falling into being seen as elitist.
Absolutely.
And sometimes it works for them, sometimes it doesn't, depending on what is the appetite of growth of the brand that one would have subsequently in terms of the product portfolio.
True.
Today, your logo is so nice and interesting. Nei Native is decluttered, very simple, unique, and a very unfoodie color. It's very unique, actually.
Yeah.
And but it is so good that you can extend this brand without. If I didn't know the meaning of Nei, I can easily extend it to a finely crafted Indian-made leather bag.
Yeah.
As well.
True. Maybe at some point we could diversify into non-food. So,
Okay, thank you. So quickly we'll move to ma'am. Just identify three challenges that you see in making this local food a global food.
you know, it's to make it really global. I think one has to uh, look at clusters of markets. And, I would say the challenge is pretty much the same that maybe our heritage sites or our, temples or heritage or, apart from the Taj Mahal, there is nothing else that we've known for, right? So what is it that makes, the Stonehenge so visited by everyone, but not you know any other place in India. It's really about marketing it right. So why is it that it's only yoga which is popular across the world and nothing else? So I think the challenges that exist for my brand would really be similar. And while I've not really thought about this, it's interesting. I think the challenges really would be to enter the West. I don't think the Middle East or the Far East would be that much of a challenge because the people and maybe even food, all the way till even Turkey is in a way similar. But the West, US and other countries might be difficult. There also you can only reach the Indian diaspora. So even when I spoke about it, but it's interesting that you say how can it actually be a global food? So can it actually replace butter? Can it actually replace you know anything else and substitute that? That would be very, very interesting. Actually, you've given me food for thought. This is something that I must explore. Why should only Indians abroad have it? Why shouldn't everyone have ghee? Yeah, and it truly is a super. I don't even think there is knowledge or any sort of talk on ghee when it comes to foreigners. So
Yes,
it's
yes.
it's something that
Agree.
definitely should. I can only see challenges, but I think every challenge has a solution to it. So it's always good to explore that. So
Food is very much part of the culture, even it is niche.
yes,
Ghee is part of an additive to the main food.
right,
So, so to that extent, maybe there is a cue from what we have learned or heard about when people started inculcating the habit of chai or tea
hmm,
in India.
right,
They went about great deal of education demo process of how to make chai, and then subsequently it has become a very, very Indian
yes,
product, or the
yeah,
Indian culture has actually embraced it so well that there's nobody else who can make chai
yeah,
better than India. Many outlets in India and abroad do not know, especially those products which are aped, and those products which are value added, so-called value added and high price products sometimes lose the Indianness and the originality of the tea. Of course, it has to cater to the local palate,
right,
taste palettes. But there is a cue there, a great deal of education, great deal of demonstration, and talking about it has to happen. And if you think about a technology taking its fruition after 2.5 decades, it requires a great deal of sustainable communication and
right,
marketing across countries. Take, for example, 3D printing. 3D printing, of course, technology layers have evolved over a period of time, but the communication started probably 2.5 decades back. In your classroom, somebody would have talked about it, and then you thought it was a fancy thing coming there.
right,
But now
correct.
it is fully realized and
It's a real thing.
actualized.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's a
absolutely.
real thing right now. So similarly, it takes time if others will have to accept it as part of their food culture, seeing the scientific benefits of the product that you are actually sharing, because nostalgia will not be a relevant point for them.
Absolutely, it'll not even
Nostalgia is
work.
for
Yeah,
us.
yeah, and
So
I
it will
think
be right.
someone in the group has also written that it
Correct.
is something that should be explored. Yes.
That should be explored. Fantastic. That's a very, very interesting conversation. And I'll now open up the discussion to one of the speakers, one of the members of the audience. They've raised their hand. Srikant, ladies and gentlemen, we are looking for your baloney type of processing questions. Very unique questions that you may have. Yes. Uh, Gomati Ramanan, please ask your
Hi,
question.
Hi, everybody. Can you hear me, first of all?
Yes.
Hi.
Hi.
Well, Nitya, that was a wonderful explanation that you gave about your product, and I'm very proud of you. And I just have going through all your challenges. Obviously, it's a known challenge, but I know you mentioned ghee is not very popular in the West, but on the contrary, because of the diets that are right now trendy, like whether it's keto diet or people going on low carb diet and basically, or intermittent fasting, whatever you call it.
Right.
They actually promote taking good fats, not to take away fats from your diet. Right. And they recommend avocados and the whites of eggs and coconut oil, which used to be a taboo in one particular time.
That's right.
But right now, ghee has become so popular, and they call it clarified butter over here.
Yeah.
And many stores do have clarified butter they sell, and there's one from New Zealand and et cetera, but it doesn't have the authentic taste and aroma and flavor that we are used to as from the Iyer community, I remember, from the homemade product. So knowing how well your product is marketing in India, I know I've always asked you before, I think you should seriously consider doing international marketing. I'm sure it'll take, it's not only for the Indian population over here, but I'm sure the Westerners are as much interested. So I think you should give it a serious thought.
So that is something, like I said, I've always been thinking that it'll be the Indians who consume it abroad. But yeah, like exactly. I said, this is great because there is this lacuna and this space which is just waiting to be explored, right? So it's the best thing to actually come in with our kind of a brand, which, like you're saying, clarified butter may not have the authenticity that an Indian ghee brand would have. So yeah, why not? It's, I think, something that must be done very quickly. So definitely,
Thank you very much for the response. Quickly, we'll ask Lavanya to come in and ask a question, please. Lavanya.
Thanks a lot for your wonderful presentation. My question is not really Middle East and US. Are you looking at African countries also as part of international market, leaving aside the strife-torn countries?
So I have not, while there are some samples, so how we actually do this is I have someone who's, taking our samples across to Maldives, Mauritius, and to South Africa. But I'm not looking at anything substantial immediately. But yes, like I said, samples have gone and there's a whole lot of paperwork that needs to be done, but the samples have been loved. So I think I have to, double up and do all the permits first and then enter the African market. So yes, very much. Because I think the entire North Africa, so even if you read the history of ghee, I think a lot of the North African countries and the Middle East is where ghee was used a whole lot and is still used. So why not?
Middle East, North Africa is one geographical cluster in international trade. So thanks a lot.
Thank you so much, Lavanya.
Thank you very much, Lavanya. One last question I'll take from the audience, that is Dr. Lakshman. You wanted to ask a question. Please go ahead quickly.
Hi, sir. Hi, ma'am.
Hello.
Yeah, my question is, I live in United States. So here, the word native is, that's a word these guys will feel Native Americans. So that word is such a popular name. Right. So if you want to market in United States for Indian people, Indian markets are good. But if you go outside the Indian markets, if you say Nei Native, so they'll feel it as a Native American.
Yeah, understood.
That word is such popular. 99.99% people will take that. So just thought to give you a point.
It was unintentional, of course, but yeah, it was not something that we thought of when we started and when we did the name of the brand. It was But
Okay.
great that you pointed it out. Thank you.
Conversation going. I'll now request Professor R. Prasad to come in and take the next cluster, one question or two, and then I'll come back to wrap it up
Sure.
because we are already beyond 13 minutes beyond the stipulated time. Okay, Professor Prasad.
Yeah, thank you. Ma'am, from your description in the previous cluster, one of the points that you made is about how you identified customers. And there's quite a bit of value for a lot of listeners, whether they are, going to be entrepreneurs or in their own ventures, about identifying customers and target groups. You mentioned about aspirational target groups.
Yeah.
Now, given your product, how are you going to find them, and what kind of cost is involved in finding such people when you want to scale it up? What sort of methods do you plan to use to find them?
So I'll tell you what I greatly believe in when it comes to identifying this kind of a target group. I really believe in the classical model, because like I said, it's not a product where I can just sort of give a Google sheet and just say fill it up, and you really have to send a taster or a sampler, and that is the only thing that works in a premium consumable product like this. So I would actually look at the fringes. So if I were to say any of the tier 1 or tier 2 cities in India, you actually look at certain pockets, and then you look at the fringe pockets, and then identify those people there and actually do samples. I would actually say, kiosks work very well because people love to experiment and try. And with that, if you're able to collect your database, that I think works greatly, because most people will have some sort of a congregation, whether it's festive or something happening in your building or in your society, in clubhouses, all of that. So the best way to actually reach out to them is actually give them tasters and samples, and look at exhibitions and all of that. So data collection becomes very, very important. And through that, then you sift it, do your own MIS, and then you target them. And what then that does is, once they get hooked on to your hero product, you can also look at your other superfoods, because chances are that someone who likes one superfood will also be into honey, will also be into cold pressed oils, etc., etc. So, you can make a larger bouquet through that.
I think you've given a very executionable method for a lot of, similar products where which kind of have this aspirational target group in mind. I come to the next question, ma'am. This is you have mentioned that it takes about 25 liters of milk to get to what you want in one kilo of liter or kilo of ghee.
That's right.
How does the cost work out? Is it only with ghee, or do you have other products which comes with this?
No, and see, the thing is that's exactly, I think, what differentiates A2 Bellona ghee from other regular ghee. Because the fact is that once you separate the butter from the rest is pretty much buttermilk. You can't really use it. So it's actually a waste in that sense, because for us, or any brand which is actually making A2 Bellona ghee, the ghee becomes the primary product. When it's mass manufactured, the ghee is actually one of the many, many byproducts. So there is paneer, you will make lassi, or a whole lot of other things. Because that milk doesn't go waste. Here, because you're churning the butter from curd, the separation is buttermilk, and really there's nothing much you can do. Hence, the cost is that much. And that's how it works. If you really need to make the purest form of ghee, then this is how it's made. Any other brand which makes regular ghee, they don't waste one single drop of the milk, of the regular milk. It never gets wasted. But for us, it's the primary product. For others, it's a byproduct. So that's the big difference, actually. And that's why there is a premiumness and a cost, which is maybe 3 or 4 times And that's how the cost is, the premiumness is justified. So
Absolutely. I think you communicated that extremely well. There is an associated question. I mean, ghee is popular in a lot of places in India.
Yes.
You chose Mumbai as your location.
Right.
So how did you arrive at that?
No, actually, I've just I've lived in Bombay for about 23, 24 years. So, this is my home, and the farm is, halfway. It's about 2 hours from Bombay, and that's exactly how the ease of the farm being close by is what it is. And in a way, it was a blessing in disguise, because Bombay is such a brilliant market to work on. It's not one tiny little thing, right? Usually you do a test market in a smaller market, but I think we were thrown into the sea with such a large market like Bombay. So then we realized that if you can succeed in Bombay, Pune should be much, much easier. So I think in that order, if you can look at Bombay, Delhi, Bangalore, it's easy to actually crack that. And Bombay actually was not by design, or it's just that I live here, and hence it just made sense to have the base here. That's how it started.
Okay. Given the nature of your venture, you also have an opportunity in Bombay, because you'll have a steeper learning curve.
Absolutely.
Which will help you later.
Yeah. So you're thrown into the deep end right at the beginning,
Yeah.
And that's how it is. So maybe the rest of the markets become a little simpler, though I think Delhi works very differently from Bombay. So that would be another completely different set of audiences to work with.
Thank you very much, ma'am. I think I hand it back to Professor.
Great. Thank you very much, Mrs. Nitya, for this wonderful session.
Thank you.
And I also thank all the participants for asking those interesting questions. And they have keyed in a few questions, and subsequently they have also asked a few more questions. And while the conversation was going on, they very constantly listened to each and everything, and all the queries that cropped up in their mind, they have actually texted, which most of the questions actually we have reflected already. So this is a very interesting but very, very different conversation compared to what we have been doing on this platform over the last 51 weeks. You are the 51st guest that we are hosting on this show, Mrs. Nitya, and we are extremely thankful. And some of the very interesting points, apart from, given the paucity of time, apart from what we have discussed, is the fact that identifying a traditional food and making it a superfood is not easy. You are up a very difficult, challenging task. The product of formulation itself and identifying the process is a very, very, very ardent task. And no shortcuts are available given the definition of the product itself.
Yeah.
And the way you redefined everything else associated with the intangibles. So you have no shortcuts available. Therefore, it's very, very tough and a challenging path. The marketing experience and your own work experience that has been very richly applied back into your entrepreneurship venture here is interesting to note. I'm sure those marketing elements that you're testing in terms of how to reach out to the customer, taking it to D2C, and how a premium product will have to be marketed, I think they are falling into place extremely well. But it is a slow-moving idea in terms of if you compare it to any other startup where marketing effort is larger and the results are much faster. Right. This is uncomparable. Therefore, this is a very unique bucket in itself as far as challenges are concerned and the product are concerned and the marketing. But I think something disruptive in marketing, which will happen, I'm sure, over a period of time very soon, and that will be the tipping point in terms of taking off this product, not just across multiple states of this country as diverse as ours, but also the Indian diaspora abroad, as well as the foreign taste palettes. Of course, there the challenges will be slightly different, but I'm sure, given the feedback, everyone is ready to almost accept this kind of product. But the journey is going to be challenging, and it's very interesting. But the lessons for all of us and everyone in the food business is to understand a roadside tea, a sweet shop to a well-branded sweet shop. Most of them do not focus on the unboxing experience. I bring
Right.
home I bring home the sweets and I struggle quite a bit. Like
Yeah.
I take off the tape or I unpack the sweet box. It's like waging a war with my nails on
True,
the.
true, true.
So I think that's a very, very important point for all of us to think about unboxing experiences. The unboxing experience of Apple iPhone is amazing.
True. So that's
Um,
such a
and so,
lovely
so, so
lesson.
why- Correct. Why not we apply the same to all of the products that we bring home?
Correct.
And there's a great deal of display of that fight going on your dining table. Either you use a scissors or a knife or something, but then you end up cutting certain wrong things
That's right.
and you try to peel off. But after you eat one or two pieces, how do you again pack it? That's a
That's
big challenge, and not much of thought has gone into it. But you have touched upon that point. Thank you very much for unraveling some of the most needed aspects of the journey required in Indian foods, traditional foods or normal foods. But but the customer is kept at the center of your thought process,
yeah.
and therefore it is bound to succeed. My best wishes and best wishes from all of us here for your journey. And I hope Nei Native is well accepted and is going to actually create some disruptive marketing techniques as well in the days to come. And we hope to see that in Hyderabad and other locations everywhere. And we get to
Thank you
taste.
so much. This has been an absolute pleasure and
Great.
for me.
So,
Thank you for inviting me.
I thank you very much for your time
Thank you.
and expertise that you've shared
Thanks,
with
Mr. Rao. Thank you, Mr. Prasad. Thanks,
Thank you.
everyone.
Everyone else, we would like to wish you once again a happy new year and the festival time that is around the country. Have a good time, take good care, and we'll see you again on 22nd of April at 7:30 p.m. with yet another very interesting and distinguished leader speaking to all of us, interacting with us, and probably we will all be there to take away some lessons from their journey as well. So see you on 22nd of April at 7:30 p.m. Till then, take good care. Thank you, one and all, and good night.